And one of the reasons that we reached out to Ken was he was sort of a new voice for our group. And he also had some expertise that proved to be particularly helpful as we move forward in the circumstances that we faced with COVID. So I'm sure Ken will tell you a little bit more about himself, but it's my pleasure to introduce him. So thank you for joining us today, Ken.
Thank you, Jason. It's really good to be with everybody, and I've seen some friends from Oklahoma and a couple other places. So great to see all of you, and thanks for spending some time with us today. Yes, so we're going to talk about the fundraising development basics here, grant writing. We'll go through all that, but all with a sort of a lens on COVID-19 and what that really means for us going forward as we all work together to as someone described it the other day, as the next normal, not a new normal, but a next normal. So what that's going to look like. So as those of you who know me, know that I'm highly interruptible. So go ahead and put your questions and comments in chat. We've got a couple of people that are helping monitor those. So if you want to wait to the end, we'll have about a 10-15 minute or so window at the end that we can take questions. But otherwise, if something really relevant, you really want to talk about something I say right now, interrupt, and it's okay, and we'll try to answer those questions as we go. I'm really glad to be with everyone today. It is a whole new world out there. So we're all in this together. We're all working through it together, and so hopefully this will give you some good basic information. A lot of it's probably stuff you know, but it always serves as a good reminder. So we're going to talk about grant writing. We're going to talk about some donor cultivation, how to make the ask, the board engagement process and developing that board now more than ever. Well, I get ahead of myself. You all know me. Those of you know me know I do that too. So if I get off track, Heidi, just tell me, hey, Ken, wake up, get back where you're supposed to be. Special events, talk a little bit about corporate sponsorships and mission statements. Here we go. So guiding principles, right? There is no business as usual. Anybody? I can't see all of you, but if you're head nodding with me, I believe that. There is nothing. So just there is pre-COVID, during COVID, and there will be something, the next normal after COVID. But it's not like it was. And I liken this a little bit, although very different in its ramifications and so forth, to 9/11. The world changed at 9/11, and we were all changed at 9/11. And so the world has changed now with COVID, and we will all be changed going forward. So we have that shared experience, though, which is another great lens to consider as you're talking to each other and working with each other and talking about fundraising, is that we all now have some relatively shared experience in COVID. We all know someone that's been affected. Hopefully, none of you know anyone that has passed away, but it's impacted your community, it's impacted your life, it's impacted your routine. So just think about that. So every element we discuss is going to be looked at through that lens. You have to think about your institution and how you're going to be positioned to deal with a pandemic or a similar catastrophe, because this won't be the last one. Hopefully, we're just learning from this and we'll be better prepared for the next thing that happens. But there's going to be more. Let's see. Okay. Let's get to grant writing, because that's one of the things. It's like, is now a time to be grant writing? Well, foundations still have to give away money. So grant writing is still always and will be relevant. And I like to go through grant writing because it's one of your best streams of revenue. And it's one of those things where you've got a great opportunity to really make your case to people that, for your current donors that already know and love you, and even to make a case for the future, because now there's a whole new world out there of dealing with COVID, and so new opportunities to advance your institution. But here are 6 basic questions that form the basis of any grant that you will write. And it doesn't matter what form you have, it doesn't matter online or however they do it, 6 basic things you need to keep in mind. What is the need that you're asking for this program, an exhibit, a position that you need funding for? What is the need that your institution has now as the reason you're writing this grant? And you can also be thinking now in maybe even shorter term, right now, in the next 6 months or a year from now, because as things are changing, as we have a vaccine developed, it's going to change how we approach fundraising. It's going to change how we approach our programming, what we're doing, whether we've been virtual, do we come back in-house, and you're going to need funding and so forth to make all of those things happen. So think in shorter terms even right now. I need to accomplish this in the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and so forth. And sometimes my little arrow key doesn't do what I want it to do. What would the improved community situation look like? In other words, we get this grant for our institution, we do this project, this exhibition, whatever it is we're doing. How is that going to help the general community around us? How is it going to help my institution impact the community in which I'm serving? Why this organization? That's a good thing to remember. You always want to be selling your institution. I know that probably sounds ridiculous or silly when I say that, but I've actually read grants for a number of institutions over time and foundations and so forth. I've honestly read grants that I didn't know who they were talking about. It could have been any organization, any museum, USA. And it's like, no, you have to talk about your institution, not just, basic information here. What can your institution do? Why is your institution the one to address this issue? Measuring success. It's our favorite thing to do, almost as much as the next one, which is the budget. How much will it cost? Those are the two things that we love most. How are you going to determine that your program was successful, that your grant is fulfilling what it was intended to, and then how much is it going to cost? What's your realistic budget? So and for the size of your organization and your staffing and so forth. We're going to get into all of this. And then, of course, finally, how will the program be funded in the future? And even if a foundation doesn't ask you this question, they still want to know, because they want to know after they stop funding you or after they've fulfilled this grant and that money has run out, how will this program continue down the road? Because most organizations, unless it's a one-off program or one-off event or one-off something that had an intended shelf life, most programs you hope to see are going to continue, and that a foundation's investing in your organization and your museum because they see a long-term benefit and a long-term impact. So they'd like to know that it's going to last once they stop giving. Everyone clear so far? Great. All right. Why that's funny, but it's funny. Justin gives me a thumbs up. I know I'm okay. Okay, here's some general guidelines when you're writing your proposal. You think I'm kidding, folks, but is it interesting? How many of you like to sit down and read something that's boring? How many of you like, oh God, what is this? So keep it interesting, keep it engaging, keep it light and fluffy. No, just kidding. Is it free of jargon? So those of us in the museum, historical society world and so forth, we have our own acronyms and we have our own ways of saying things and we have our own jargon and so forth. Not everyone's going to understand what you're talking about. So you need to explain things, Lucy. You need to tell people what it is that you're really about, what you represent, and explain it to them so that that anybody can get it. Because even if it's a foundation or someone that you've worked with in the past, they could have a new grant reviewer. They could have somebody that really doesn't know about your organization. So you don't always have to go back completely to square one, but you do want to explain who you are so that no matter who's reading it, they get a good sense of, oh yes, this is this museum, this is this historical society, this is this agency. We've given them grants for the last 3 years. They reference that here. Okay, so they have some sense of who you are and what you do, no matter who they are, whether they know you or not. They'll feel like they know you. Do you make a compelling case? And this is not always about tugging at the heartstrings, although that doesn't hurt if you've got a really good anecdote that you can put in there, but you want to make a compelling story. Your support at this time for this program is going to allow us to do these fearful and wonderful things that we couldn't do without your support. Make your case compelling. Don't just write it as if, well, they've always given to us, so they'll give it to us one more time. Right now, especially, remember, we're dealing with COVID, right? So social service agencies are being really hit hard as food banks and the homeless shelters and all of that are being inundated with these extraordinarily larger challenges than they've had before. So not that museums and historic sites aren't important and don't have similar needs and so forth. We do. We're still the keepers of the truth. We're still all of those things that we know we do, and keepers of the community and the artifacts and the stories and all of that. Very important, but you just have to continue to make your case compelling so that when someone's looking at you, say, oh yeah, this is just as important as this over here. Or while I may be helping this group on a social service side, I also need to be helping this group because they're doing this important work. They're helping with kids and education, and they're helping all of these things and support our school system and all of those things. So you want to make your case compelling. I mentioned this briefly earlier. Make sure when you're talking to folks and writing your grants and so forth, it's about your organization. Don't be generic museum or generic history center 101. Be your organization. This is who we are. This is our mission. This is what we do. Okay. Here's some general thoughts about grant writing. And I can't stress this one enough. Always say thank you sincerely and often. My rule of thumb, for those of you who know me, is always be sincere, even if you don't mean it. And I say that with a little humor so that you'll remember. Sip of water now, hang on. And I promise for those of you that is water and not vodka, but you'll never know, will you? Ha, ha, ha. But truly, you can never say thank you enough, because one of the challenges I think we find ourselves in the development world, and just think to yourselves as I say this, you don't want to be the organization, you don't want to be the institution, the museum, the whatever, that always has its hand out, that's always asking for something more, asking for something, I need money, I need help, I need this. Every once in a while, you just want to say thank you, checking in with somebody else, checking in with that, hey, how are you doing? Hey, how's it going with you? We're doing okay over here, da 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 da. And thanks for your past support. Really appreciate it. No, I'm not coming to you for a grant this time. I'm just checking in on you. We're still implementing this grant, or we're still doing this. So it's a form of communication, but thanking people is one of the best things you can do. And now more than ever, too, you want as many touch points as you can. You want to stay visible to your foundations, your corporations, people that are supporting you. You want them to know you're out there doing good work, continuing on amidst the pandemic, that you're here and vibrant and alive and active. And so saying thank you, just touching base with them, asking how they're doing, makes a big difference. I'll give you a quick anecdote. This was several years ago, many years ago. I was director of the Arts and Humanities Council of Tulsa. And just after I came to that organization, which I guess would have been about 2000, in 2002, 2003, right in there, 2002. We had a sort of a tech bust in Tulsa, and some real challenges. And Williams, who had been a longtime supporter, that's oil and gas, but it was also oil, gas, and tech at the time, but had been a huge supporter of the Arts and Humanities Council, I had learned, and so forth. And they were all of a sudden in a position where they couldn't fund us. I mean, and that was a significant grant for us. We were not a huge organization, significant grant, and they just couldn't do it. So I made an appointment to go meet with their community relations vice president and that controlled their foundation and so forth. And they agreed to meet with me. So up to the 50th floor, 49th floor, whatever, of the BOK Williams Tower here in Tulsa. And Ralph came in. He's no longer there. I mean, he moved on to other opportunities and so forth over time. But so he comes in, and so he's armed with what they've done for us in the past, but he opens with, Ken, it's nice to meet you. I said, yes, I'm just the new executive director of the Arts and Humanities Council. I just wanted to thank you. Now, Ken, we're not in a position to really be able to help you right now. And I'm like, oh, sir, I know that. I'm not here to ask for money. I thought the man was going to cry, and I swear a small tear appeared in his eye, and I'm not over exaggerating it. So we had the nicest about 45-minute conversation where I talked about the great things that they had done for us over the past and how they've been helpful. I said, but we're so supportive of you and things that are going on here. We just want you to know when you're back, we'll still be here. We'll appreciate partnering with you whenever you can. But we understand that you've got to take care of your employees, and you got to try to keep things together for you. And we totally get it. Having somebody understand him, he was just like, before I left that day, I didn't have any cash, but I had some new office equipment and some chairs that we needed. And so, because he asked me, is there anything we could do? We have this warehouse full of stuff. I said, what kind of stuff? So I got 12 new office chairs for our conference room and a few things, but it made them feel good that they could do something for us, kept them in the loop. And then when they were able to be back and funding us again a couple years later, it was great because I paved that relationship and simply said, thank you. He even dropped me a handwritten note to say, thank you for stopping by. Great to meet you. Look forward to partnering in the future. So I'm just saying those moments when you're not asking makes an indelible mark on people, and they really appreciate that. Okay, let's see here. Yes. Okay. We're going to talk a little bit more about mission statements in a few minutes, but know your organization's mission. And if it can't be said in 25 words or less, and I'm looking at a lot of you right now shaking your heads, saying, oh my God, Ken, goes on forever, then you need to rewrite it. It needs focus. It needs clarity. You can have wonderful little subpoints of this is our mission, and we accomplish this mission by boom, 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 boom. But your mission needs to be clear, articulate, compelling, and let people know that they know your organization when they hear it. It's like, oh, that's what you do. This is who we represent. This is who we are. It really does help to do that. And you've got some grants that you're going to be writing that require that. And require a short mission, and they give you a word count and a character count, and so you've got to be able to do that. And so they're helping you. You might be frustrated by it, but they're actually helping you focus your mission and your vision. There you go. Let's see. Okay, more thoughts. Okay, follow instructions to the letter. I know this probably goes without saying too, but I've seen so many people miss out on opportunities because they didn't do what the instructions were about how to fill out the forms, how to make copies, what you're supposed to do. So if it says, do not staple, what do? You do not staple. If it says they want paper clips, fine. They want binder clips, fine. They like it a 3-hole punched, fine. Whatever they want it on blue paper. Your only question should be, what color blue would you like, right? Because they're looking, and this is not a negative reflection, but they're looking for reasons not to fund you. Because funders, foundations, corporations are getting far more requests than they have the resources and funds to be able to support. So they have to find reasons not to. So if you don't have a compelling argument, or if you don't follow instructions, or if you don't, these are little boxes. Okay, I don't have to do this one. Yep, this one didn't do what we told them. We said 3 copies, not 2, not 4. We said 3. And these are not usually onerous things. It's just like when they give you that checklist, stop and go over the checklist. Make sure you've done what they ask. If they want a copy of your 501c3, put your 501c3 in there. If they want this, that, whatever it is, give them what they're asking for. Whenever possible, you want to get to know your funders. Because again, this is another touch point. It keeps your organization, your institution's name in their face, and lets them remember you. Oh, yes, you called me a couple of weeks ago about that. You called me a month ago about that. So that you can email them with questions or go over or whatever. I mean, I love Sarkey's Foundation because their approach, their protocol is that you actually, and Oklahoma Humanities does this as well, where you provide them with a draft ahead of time, or you can review and go over, this is what we're thinking about, this is what we're doing, how does that sound to you? And they can give you guidance to help you be successful, but also tell you, it's like, we're just not going that direction right now. We're going to be funding this way. So let's not waste your time, because you don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste their time. So if you've got a chance to ask a couple of questions, say, hey, we're thinking about this. Would this be okay with you? Or, we'd be more interested in funding that if you gave us X, Y, or Z, or if you gave us X and Y instead of Z, or whatever. Again, dialogue, it gets your name out there so that a couple of weeks later, when your application and your grant come in, they're looking at it like, oh yeah, I talked to Jason over there. Yeah, he told me about that. Boom, right? I'm gonna pause in a second and let you all see if there's anything I should know out in chat. Assume nothing. Now we know what happens when you assume, so I won't repeat it to you because we all know it. Just smile and nod. But it really is true. If you have to say, I wonder if they meant X. I wonder if I can do Y. If you have to ask that question, then you need to find out the answer to it, right? Makes sense, it's intuitive, but just do it. Assume nothing. Okay, before we go to donor cultivation, is there anything in the world of grants or something in the question so far that we should talk about?
Nothing's really come through the chat, but I'll let people ask if they have it.
Oh, okay. So you can unmute or put it in chat or whatever. Or I'll just keep talking. It's going to happen.
I think we're good.
Okay. Okay, we'll continue on. Donor cultivation. Finding the perfect match. And this is really true right now more than ever. Again, you've got organizations that are foundations and corporations and so forth that are really being taxed and pulled toward helping a lot of the social service agencies and so forth. And as all of you know, our museums, our historical sites, we closed down for a while. At least almost all of us did in some capacity. And now almost everyone's back open. There's a couple still out there that I know of that are going to be coming back online here shortly. But everyone basically closed. Those who could pivoted to the virtual world and started doing all kinds of creative programming, which was awesome. But so now we're back. And so now we're really thinking, if you had to furlough staff, you brought your staff back, PPP's running out. So now you've got to figure out, okay, we're still here and we still have this great work to do. And so we need donors that want to do that. So you want to find donors that your previous donors and maybe even new donors, but that fit in with your mission, that are funding in your communities with at similar kinds of things to what you're doing. So really keeping up with who's funding what, who likes what, that kind of thing. That's also on a more individual level as well. So I'm talking now more broadly about than just grants. I'm talking about the broader donor cultivation, but it fits all of them. Finding that perfect match. You've got to make sure that your mission aligns with what they're interested in doing. That does not mean, I've had this question before, that does not mean that you rewrite your mission for every donor you approach and try to skew it to them. It means know who you are, have it short, have it concise, make it interesting and all of those things, but just, this is who we are, this is what we do. Oh, and then here's this list of donors that I can identify, or this list of foundations and so forth that fund similar things or have funded us in the past or whatever. You want to really make sure that connection is there, because, and certainly reaching out to new donors is great. Now is not as easy a time because everyone's being tapped for so many other things, but your current donors, your past donors, those are the ones that know you, love you, have supported you. You want to keep those communications open and say, hey, we haven't been to you in a little while, but we've reopened now and we've got this new exhibit and we're doing this and we could use your help to do X, Y, or Z. Do your homework. That goes without saying. I have been in situations and I've watched people when they really didn't know what an organization was doing, or, well, this person, I've actually had people say to me, well, they've got a lot of money. Well, yes, they do. And that's wonderful. But if they don't want to give it to you, it's no help. If the money's over here and it won't come over here, then it doesn't do you any good. It doesn't matter how much money they have. I always jokingly say how many, and this is true in other communities too. We have so many millionaires in Tulsa. We're very blessed. But we have a lot of millionaires that don't give to anything. And I'm serious. They're funding their lifestyle and their children and their grandchildren and all of those things, and they're all worthwhile. But they may not have that philanthropic bent. And so it's great that they have all this money and they're driving into new roles and they're doing whatever. But if they're not philanthropically minded, if no one's explained to them the tax benefits of that they can help themselves and help us at the same time as our nonprofit organizations and our museums, doesn't do a whole lot of good. So that donor cultivation then becomes really important as you're using your staff and your board to help educate these people who might want to come on board if you're looking for new folks, but really trying to explain to them and really expressing who you are, and how your world has changed because of COVID, and yet how your organization is still reaching out and providing services and so forth, and meeting needs and helping with education, helping with schools, and all of those things. You just have to really try to demonstrate and find those folks who are most aligned with what your institution does, and then show them that, hey, we need your support because we're doing all this, and I know you appreciate and support that kind of work. Okay. Again, just as we mentioned, asking board members for referrals. This is what your board needs to be doing. They need to be opening doors. They need to be connecting you, setting up lunches, helping the executive director and development people do their jobs. And remember, basic 101 here, people give to people, right? So those connections, it's much better if a board member asks a friend, a colleague, or whatever, than the ED doing it. EDs, obviously, of course we do. That's what we do. But we usually provide the data, provide the background, provide the answers to questions. But we want to be introduced via a board member that says, hey, I'm on this board. Hey, I'm a donor to this museum. I'd like for you to meet our executive director and learn about what we're doing because I'm supporting it. I think you might like to too. That's huge. Again, for those who are nervous about it, they're not having to do the ask. They're just introducing the staff and letting them provide that ask and provide that connection, if you will. But the board member brought the two of you together. Then the board member feels good. We thank the board member for doing that, and so forth. This is also a great time right now for any donors that aren't currently giving to you, and this can be foundations, corporations, individuals, to put those donors on your mailing list. Your whether it's a hard copy that you're doing or it's all electronic now. Let them start hearing from you. It'll start building awareness. If you can get somebody's email address, if your board can come up with, hey, I've got some friends, let them start hearing from you. Don't inundate them. One of the big challenges right now is with everything going on, should we be communicating more? One institution I saw was communicating like, if you say, if you said, well, once a week, that's good. A couple times a week. This one was doing it every day. And I called him one day and I said, I don't want to hear from you every day. Now, maybe there's some donors that do, or members of your institution that do. I'm glad you've got so much going, but you're filling up my inbox. And so it can be a turnoff. So you have to sort of match people's expectations. And right now in the virtual world we are, our laptops, our iPads, our iPhones, whatever smartphone device you've got, that's your connection to the world. And if it's just constantly being inundated, it's like, whoa, give me a break. So be careful about that, but do start regularly communicating with your donors, prospective donors, by putting them on your mailing list and letting them hear from you. They learn about you, quietly, without an ask, without anything. They just start here. Oh, I remember that organization. Oh, I've been there, or I went there as a kid. I need to go back there. It just subconsciously starts them thinking. Okay, when is the right time to make the ask? And right now is a really big issue for this one, because we're all used to sitting down with somebody across the desk, right? If we're just having a communication with them, or having a cup of coffee. And it's like, well, do I set up a Zoom? What if I'm dealing with someone that doesn't Zoom well? Do I just want to do this on the phone? Can't see facial expression. Do I want to go somewhere, put up a giant piece of plexi between us? That's weird. It looks sort of like a prison. That seems odd. But so now more than ever, back to your communication, and having those dialogues with them, you're going to want to simply ask them when the right time is. It's like, hey, we got this going. I know it's COVID. I know you're being safe, and you and your family are being real safe. That's awesome. But I really do have a project I need to run by you. We could use some help. We've got this program that we need funded. How can I do this? So you're asking the donor for guidelines. Well, send me an email. Okay. Send me a packet. Great. Set up a time to talk and answer questions. You can do that by phone. You can ask them if they are comfortable doing a virtual, a GoToMeeting, a Zoom, or whatever. Ask them if they're comfortable doing that. If they are, it's better, because even like this with you all today, at least I can see some people and see some expression and sort of get a head nod occasionally, and okay, so you're still here and with me. If you're just on the phone, you got to give them time to pause. You got to let them have time to think, but you just ask them how best to communicate. I really do need you to look at this. This really is important. How do I do that that works best for you? Okay. I love this next thing where I say, what I'm going to ask you. Okay. What do these have in common? Breakfast, coffee, lunch, golf course, drinks, gym. I'm just going to let you pause for a second. Think about it. They're all appropriate places to make the ask, but again, what about during a pandemic? And the reason I say this is you have to do, again, what the donor is comfortable with. Golf courses are still outdoors. If you've got a donor that loves to play golf, and you play too, you can go out on the golf course, play 18 holes. Maybe you don't spend as much time in the clubhouse. Maybe you don't do that, but you've still got this time together, and it's outdoors, and the chances of COVID are much more dim, much less likely. So, the breakfast, coffee, drinks, those kinds of things. The gyms are open, but But again, you're wanting to interact with people where they're most comfortable. You want to be on their terms, because when they're feeling comfortable, safe, confident, then you've got a much better chance of getting them to say yes to you and support what you're asking for. Years ago, this may have been back, I can't remember now. I think it was at Gilcrease, but I had a donor for a major corporation here in Tulsa, and she was the head of the foundation. If I were going to ask for something, I would send a letter about a one-pager. That's all she wanted. And then we would meet at the Summit Club on the 32nd floor in the bar for drinks on a Monday at 5 p.m. That's how it was done. I would meet, she would be there, we would talk, and by 6 o'clock, I'd either have the commitment or I'd have a check. Sometimes she'd bring the check with her because she knew ahead of time what I was doing, but this is how she wanted to do it. Who am I to say what's right or wrong, right? And so, but that was her style. Others don't want any communication. I mean, except that, yeah, just send that to me, I'll get back to you. And so again, we want all of this and we're just trying to be helpful. We just want to provide information, but you've got to do what the donor tells you. Another donor here in town is great. I love her, but she wants no recognition. I mean, you put her name on it. Don't send me a thank you, the official thank you note for the IRS. Don't give me a gift. Don't give me a mug. Don't give me a party. Don't give, whatever. This is, okay, she wants it all to go to the institution, all to go to the program we're trying to do. Great. So what's right for you is not necessarily right for them, and what's right for them may not be right for you. But unless it's illegal, go for it, right? And even if it's illegal, it can be questionable. Depends on how large the gift is. I did not say that. I know it's recording. That was a joke. Okay. Okay. I'm going to keep going, Jason, unless you tell me. Keep going. All right. All right. Okay. Okay. So now, boys and girls, is a great time to really be looking at your board makeup. And you ask yourself, what is our current board versus what we'd like it to be or what it should be as you go on. Because remember, you should be keeping a matrix of your board members, not only with their terms of service, their levels of donors, and how much they're contributing and all of that, so that you have a spreadsheet, their strengths, of what they can provide to the organization and so forth. So you want to have all that so that as board members are rotating off, and term limits are coming up, that you're replacing them with people that you need where you have gaps in that board. If you've got a treasurer that's been there and he's getting ready to, or he or she's getting ready to rotate off, and you need to find someone that has that kind of background. You need a couple people you can pick from or whatever, so that you're constantly monitoring who's going off, what did they bring to the table, and what do we need. If you have a board currently, and I know, and thank goodness I can't see everyone, so just, think to yourself, but if you have a board now that's not your optimal board, that you're not as happy with as you'd like to be, I know that never happens, that you have any deadwood on your board or anything, or dead weight. So what you have to do, I think, is use this time to say, what really is important, what really matters, and what do we really need on our board to move our organization forward. This is a good time to think about thinning your board. Those that just really haven't been super engaged are probably now even less engaged. So this may be a good time to have your board president or whatever thank them for their service. Say, the whole world of COVID's great. Here, thanks for being with us, but I know this is not your key priority. I mean, if you and we'll talk about this in just a second. So hold that thought. But you also want to keep in mind, we're always concerned about diversity, equity, inclusion. All of that is so critically important. And as you make up your board, that you want it to reflect your organization, your community, so that people feel like they're very much connected and that they're part of something that doesn't pay lip service to all of that, but that actually cares about it, and it's a meaningful experience. And you want your participation on your board to be meaningful for folks, so they feel like I'm volunteering for this, I'm giving to this, I care about this, and you want those kinds of people. Having a person that just checks a box or two, but doesn't really attend, doesn't really give, doesn't have access to wealth to bring it in, what good is that person really doing for your organization? And I mean, these are some hard questions, but now is a really good time to be asking it as you're looking at, I'm working with a couple of organizations, and they're looking at really reducing their number of board members, that they've had a lot of dead weight for a long time, and and they just sort of kept perpetuating them. And they're like, hey, we're going to use this as an opportunity to streamline and say, it's COVID, it's a whole new world. We got to do all this virtual stuff, technology. And so they're using it as a vehicle to do that. Now's a great time to be considering those aspects. I I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but does everybody understand that a board member's role in fundraising is that every board member is a fundraiser? Does everybody understand that? Okay, I'm now a few minor head nods there. Okay, apparently not everybody understands it. So let me explain it to you. Here we go. Every board member is a member of the Fund Development Committee. Okay, they are advocates for your organization. They may not, here, you've never heard this one before. I don't like to ask for money. None of you have ever heard that. So here's the answer to that one. Okay, right, you don't like to ask for money. Okay, well, again, a board member is an advocate, right? And so they can introduce your executive director, your development team, however your organization is set up. They can have you set up lunches, set up coffees, set up introductions, even an email exchange. Hey, I'd like you to meet so-and-so. I'm on the board here. Da, 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 da. We've got this great campaign coming up. We'd like for you to be a part of it. I'm supporting it. Would you join me? Blah, 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 blah. So whatever that is, but every board member can do something. They don't all have to sit there and make the ask, but they can do something to bring money into that institution. I also like to set up training sessions where you take your executive director, your most accomplished board members that are good at fundraising or like to fundraise or aren't afraid to ask for money, and then just go through this is how we do it. This is how we set it up. This is how this is how we do it. Do some role playing. Board members can also be very helpful in writing thank you notes, making follow-up calls. A letter goes out, you wait 3 days, maybe you have your board lined up, each board member makes 3 or 4 phone calls, say, hey, did you get our letter for our annual fund? I'm on the board there, and you saw my name on the letter. Would love for you to help us out this year. I mean, it's a little thing, but it's like they're not doing it all themselves, but they're just doing a follow-up. Like, hey, I'm just touching base with. We can do that via email. We can do it, whatever. It's I know, since I'm one that doesn't mind doing that, it's easy for me to say, and I get that, but it's like there isn't anyone that can't do something to help the fundraising effort of an institution. I was thinking, we had a lovely woman when I first came to the Arts and Humanities Council of Tulsa. She had her own style of doing it. She said, Ken, I have a group of friends that I believe in this, I believe in this organization. I've been on this forever. She would write them notes and ask them for a gift, handwritten notes, ask them for a gift. She would have them, a little envelope we give her. They would send it into me. Then I would call her and tell her who had given. And then she would write them a thank you note for having given. She made a few $1,000 every year for me doing annual fund stuff. Was it a little extra work on my part? Sure. But did she feel good? Yes. Those handwritten notes and communication were great, and they were loyal. Every year, those gifts would come in, and she would feel like she had done her part in her way. So I'm not saying you can maybe do it actually absolutely customized for every single person, but there's a way for them to participate, and you just have to give them that opportunity and insist that they do it. They do have to do it. There's no other way. So here comes, and here's the part that leads you to that. So in your nominating committee or your governance committee, or however you have it set up, your board development committee, and you're looking at people to be on your board, and you want members who are going to be brave and willing to ask for support and willing to help raise funds for your institution, you've got 2 ways to go. You can do the time, talent, and treasure, which is the nice way, the nice approach, which is you're going to give of your time, you're going to serve on this board, serve on committees, help with our fundraisers, whatever. You're going to give of your talent. Hey, you're a CPA, you can help be our treasurer. You take really good notes, you can be our secretary. You've got an HR experience, you can chair governance, whatever it is, you have a talent that you bring, or you have a treasure, you can write a check to help support us, or you have access to wealth somewhere and you can bring that money to this institution. I always say a board member has to have at least 2 of these 3 T's, or why are they on your board, right? The other approach is the give, get, or get off approach, which is you either give me money, you go get me money, or why the hell are you here? That's a little harsh. So I'm not overly advocating for that one, but it does, if you say it just like that, like I just did and slammed the desk a little, it really does like wake up. It's like, wow, yeah, these people are just like coming to meetings and we never hear from them. These people are just hanging out and yeah, they're not really doing anything for this institution. It's great to have feel goods, and I've worked with organizations who have the ladies who lunch, and ladies, don't be mad at me for saying that. But that's sort of an older school way of thinking, and the world has changed, and that's not just COVID. It's just it's like I've done some work over the years with Junior League, and Junior League, great organization that still does a lot of wonderful things in communities, but the ladies whose husbands worked at the bank and the this and that and the other, and they had all this time to volunteer. 90% of junior leaguers today are working women, working mothers, raising families. Their engagement is very different than it was 10, well, certainly 20 years ago, but even 10 years ago. And so, the organization has to change with it. Still has its goals, its values, and all of that, but how people interact. So you've got to make it a meaningful experience. If a person's going to give of their time to your organization, they've got to feel that they're getting something really good out of it and getting it back. So you set your expectations so that your nominating committee is letting folks know, when you come on this board, we have an annual fund gift expectation that you will attend 80% of our board meetings, that you will serve on a committee, that you'll help with our gala, whatever that list is that's for your organization. And you just go over them up front, so that if it's not their fit, they can decline or move on. And then if you do get them on and things don't work out, that's why I'm a huge believer in an annual re-up. Even if you're at 3-year terms and how you do it, every year, ask for that recommitment. Yes, I pledge to give a gift. I pledge to serve on the board. I pledge to be on a committee, whatever. Or the box that says, no, I can't do this anymore. My life has changed. My world has changed, whatever. Thank you so much. And then there's no negativity. You're not making them feel bad. It's just, hey, my world has changed. And it's a recognition of that. Okay. I also, I hope everyone's doing a board orientation. Don't let your board orientation only go for new people. Bring your current board members into those as well. 2 reasons. One, it introduces them. Again, this can be done virtually right now since we're not all together as we once were, but it lets them meet the new folks and lets the new folks meet the current members, so that there's that immediate recognition and so forth. And it's like, oh, okay. And then it's a refresher for your current board members. So it's like, oh, that's right. These are our financials. That's how we do that. Oh yeah, these are our committees. Oh yeah. It's just that annual reminder about, this is who we are. This is what we do. Okay. Special events during a pandemic. Is that oxymoronic? Maybe. In that we've all been pivoting to the virtual event, right? What we have learned during this is that nonprofits are basically overly dependent on special events. We rely on them too much for our annual budget. If you've got an event during COVID and that special event normally brings in 50% of your operating revenue, what's happening to your organization right now as you try to overcome that we can't get together and have that gala, that auction, that whatever? Now, by this point now, people have been figuring it out. Lots of virtual silent auctions, virtual galas. Stay home. We'll bring you a bottle of wine and you stay home and just send us a check. I mean, so people are figuring out creative ways to do this. But it's a lot of organizations, especially in arts and culture sector, have really been hurt by that over-reliance. So that's where your grant writing and so forth becomes really important to supplement and hopefully take on a larger percentage of your budget. You just don't want to put it all on special events, because pandemics happen, calamities happen, and if you lose that thing that brought in you 40–50% of your revenue, you're in a world of hurt. So set yourself up for success, not failure, by diversifying your streams of income. Okay, ask yourself these questions also. What is your goal for hosting this particular special event? Does this fit our organization's mission? If you're going to do one, does it fit your mission? Is it relevant to what we're trying to do here? Is it cost effective? Everyone loves to do cost benefit analysis, but it's really important in terms of staff time involved and so forth. Are we getting a good return on our investment? Or is it just sort of a feel good thing that we've always done it for the last umpteen years and nobody wants to let it go because, well, we've just always done it? This is your time to say, well, business as usual has changed. Just because we've always done it this way doesn't mean that maybe we couldn't do it this year for that very reason. So you want to use this opportunity to really look at what you're doing and look at your programming and look at your events and look at your and see what's really working and what it's really losing its momentum. It was not gaining strength. It was losing its momentum. Okay, revision it now. And then you need to find that thing, especially in larger communities. If everybody's doing the silent auction and you think, if I have to go to one more silent auction, I'll shoot myself, then what is unusual? What can you bring to the table? How many of us have been to like 2 or 3 auctions in say a month? Because, you know, normally if we're out, it's October, we should be in special event mode right now. But how many of us have been out to those and seen the same restaurant gift certificates, the same basketball sign, the same whatever, this one, this one, this one. It's like, well, I can pick that up at any one of the 3 here, and it all benefits something worthwhile that I believe in. But so that's that. So what's unusual about yours? Did you bring in a really cool music group that not everyone else was doing? Did you have some interesting poetry reading by a poet laureate that was interesting? What's different or unique that you're doing that you can sell and get people excited about? Oh, that's different. We haven't done that before. Let's go try that one. What's unusual? I would break into Tom Jones, but that would be wrong. Okay. Types of support. Just quickly, corporate sponsorships. You all know this, but ways to engage with corporations if they don't have a lot of money right now. I just had a meeting with American Airlines. As you know, sadly, 19,000 furloughed yesterday. This meeting was set up prior to that, but we all knew that was coming, so we all pray for them so forth. But they're wanting to talk to me a little bit about tourism and some things going down the road and so forth. And the gentleman that was here from corporate was like, now we don't have a lot of cash right now, and we don't have a lot of, sir, let's put a strategy together for the next 12, 24, 36 months. Let us look down the road when you're back stronger and so forth. But let's have the conversations now, tee things up. How can we all work together to support great things happening in our cultural lives, in our communities, and so forth? So positive was our short meeting, which was really great though. But he's just like, okay, Ken, here's my card. I want to set up a couple of follow-up phone calls with you. Let's talk more, because he was so appreciative of the fact that I was talking down the road, not today, but where are we going to be, 12, 24, 36 months down the road. He said, yeah, we can talk about things like that and we can make plans. There we go, sir. That's how we do it. So corporations, we love the outright gift, but they have, some of them have lots of facilities available right now. You probably don't want to gather in them, but if they're large open spaces, maybe there's something they could help you with there. Employee matching programs are still great. That lets a lot more people be involved. They give and then they match the gift to your organization. Those are always great. Make sure you're asking about those. They can provide technical assistance, so like the loaned executive idea. Obviously volunteers. So when you have your events again, when you have things that they can be doing to help, obviously that ties them to you. And then companies support financially those organizations where their employees volunteer. So that connection and keeping those volunteers connected to your organization is really critical. They can, just as I mentioned with Williams, that was several years ago, but in-kind equipment, materials, things that they can donate to you that didn't have to cost them direct money. That's great if they can provide that to you, and that helps your organization. So, keep that wish list of things that you need. If you need a lot of pedestals, wood would be a great thing to have shared with you. So, if somebody can provide, if the lumber companies that can provide some of that, there you go. Mission statements. Okay. A mission statement. We talked about it, 25 words, but it describes the purpose and activities of your organization. It's got to be brief, 25 words or less. And I just because, I'm going to give you a couple examples here. OMA, near and dear to my heart. OMA supports Oklahoma museums in their efforts to educate, inform, and entertain. Boom. Do you have a pretty good idea of what OMA does? Not specifics, but you get the idea. This one's probably a little more vague, but I still love it. Oklahoma leaders making Oklahoma the leader. Now you have to ask yourself, in what? Number of COVID cases? Haha, that was a bad joke. But it still gets you the quick point, and then there are bullets under these that explain, and we do this by being leaders in education, by being leaders in whatever, oil and gas development, by being leaders in environmental protection, whatever those things are that you're doing, you can put those out, but give people something to hang on to quickly. Quick mission vision, this often does come up, so I just want to make sure everyone's clear on it. If there is any confusion, Sometimes it advances and sometimes it, okay. The vision is the big, bold, demanding, where we think we want to be 10 years from now kind of world, right? It's challenging, but remember, it's also believed to be achievable. And so your mission is your day-to-day, this is who we are, this is what we do now. Vision is where we want to be, okay? My favorite one, just because, is NASA. And I go back to John F. Kennedy in 1961, but it's perfect. The nation should dedicate itself to achieving the goal before the decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth. Obviously today we'd say a man or woman or something we'd say a little more broadly, but the idea was in 1961, we had missiles, we were shooting things up into space. So we knew how to do, we had rockets, so we knew how to do some of these things. His vision, getting us 9 years down the road was, or 8 years at that time, but it would become 8 years, was getting to the moon and getting a person back safely. Risky, challenging, audacious, big goal, but believed intuitively possible because we had rockets and we were going off into space. Okay, with that, ran a little bit long, sorry. Any questions? You can unmute, you can put them in chat. If I've covered everything, that's great. We'll just wrap up 5 minutes early. And let's see, did I put anything else? Oh yeah, and thank you. Thank you for participating. And there's
do you want to unshare your screen so you can see more?
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. Yes, I will do that. Boom. There we go. And boom. Okay, look at all the people. Hi, people. Oh, I'm getting applause. Thanks. And waves. Oh, yay. This was useful then. Yay. And they're not all my friends. That's good. There's a few other people, a few new people. Hi, Mom. Sorry, just kidding.
I think you made some new friends today, Ken.
I think so. I hope so.
Any thoughts or comments, questions? You reminded me to try to shill on some more raffle tickets when you mentioned silent auctions a minute ago. Go get those raffle tickets, guys.
There you go. There you go.
Oh, Susan's all over that too. Susan and I are the hustlers for raffle tickets this week.
Okay, I see that. I see that.
The brain behind the operations. So.
Actually,
we're the money hustlers. Money hustlers, yeah.
That's good. And I saw your email about your raffle items. You have some good items, so I was impressed.
Good ones. We do have some good ones.
Nice diversity. Yeah, that was good.
Send him the link.
Elena just dropped it in the chat.
He's got it.
I got it.
He's on our e-blast list. He called me yesterday and said, "Quit sending me so many damn emails." I'm just joking. That's not.
That's not completely true. Thank you, Delana. You're welcome, Mark. So we're all good. How is everybody?
Good. I would like to say something really quick. Ken has, I've been on the board of OMA for several years, and when he's on the board, and he has been on the board, and he's always done such a great job of providing wisdom and experience and information. And
I'm old.
I mean, no, you're knowledgeable and even facilitated us through strategic planning. And so I just can't praise Ken enough. And he's such a great person, has such a great sense of humor.
Oh.
And I'm so glad that we were able to have him today to talk to all of our MPMA members, and it's just a real treat. And I just want to say thank you so much, Ken.
well, thank you, Heidi. Gosh, you made my day. Is this still being recorded? Good. I want a recording of that. I got to play it for my mother. She'll be so pleased.
It's being recorded.
Thank you. No, that's great. Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure always working with you as well. But you know, museum people are just cool people, right? I mean, we get in this field and we stay in this field because we love what we do and we care about it. We're not here to get wealthy, unfortunately, but what we do matters, and we know that. And so that's great. So I love hanging out with museum people. Justin, were you going to say something? I'm sorry.
I was going to prompt you to drop your email in the chat.
Oh, I see that.
Just to give everybody a chance to ask questions later if they have questions.
Yeah, please feel free to be in touch. I'll be glad to make sure I typed it right. I did. Okay, there's my email address.
Super.
And if you're wondering about the handle, Cultural Czar, you don't have to kiss my ring unless I'm carrying my orb and scepter. So if you see me with the orb and scepter, then you bow at the waist, kiss my ring, and then everything's fine.
That sounds reasonable.
I thought so. You know, I remember one time Queen Elizabeth II, some little girl was asking her because she expected to see the Queen in her crown, and she was wearing a hat. And of course, as we all know, for the Queen, the hat is her, you know, crown when she's not wearing the crown. And she explained that it was really heavy to the little girl, really heavy, and it was back in the palace with the guards. And so she was wearing this hat today, and that satisfied the little girl that the crown was nearby, was just heavy and too heavy for her to wear all the time. So there you go.
Well, our collections queen, Jenny Uris, said that that's good to know. So we have a few different royalties in the room.
Oh, I bet.
Already.
Yeah.
We did get a quick question that just came in. Do you have any insight to get board buy-in on their responsibilities as it relates to fundraising?
Yes, you hire me as a consultant to come in and explain it to them. That's the best way. No, truly, and I'm being serious. You have your board expectations on a written sheet, even if you send it out email right now. But it's there, and these are the expectations, and you literally go over it with them, and you say, this is what. So if they're current board members, okay, a little harder. Your new board members, you start with that. If they're current board members, and some of you, even though you have term limits and so forth, somehow you often have members that are hangers on that somehow we just can't quite get rid of, and that happens. You just really do have to say, you know, all of our board members are doing this. Everyone is signing up 100% commitment to make a gift and serve on a committee and to help our executive director help us raise money. And so you just clearly spell it out, and then you make everyone sign it. And if somebody says, you know, I'm really not comfortable with that, I really can't do it, then that's when your board president sits down with them privately. You don't ever castigate somebody in public, but you say, you know, I don't think this is going to be a good fit for you. And that's okay. You know, we love you. If you'd like to volunteer with our institution, if you'd like to help out over here, but we really need 100% doing it. And you can really use COVID right now. We need money more than ever. We've lost our earned revenue. We've lost, you know, our normal ticket sales or whatever your sources of revenue are. Say fundraising is now absolutely critical, and we need everybody on the boat rowing. And you just say it politely, but you say it firmly, and just say, this is the way it is. And if you can't do that, we understand, we love you, no hard feelings, but you let them go and you replace them with somebody who is willing to step up, because they're out there. You just have to find them, and maybe board members can find like-minded board members, you know, tell them, hey, I'm looking we got a couple people that we may be losing, so can you help me find somebody that would be like you, who always writes a check, always participates, always engages, and help bring them to us. But you just have to be firm about it and say, this is what we're going to need, or you're going to need to go do something else.
Super.
Cool.
That's the $1 million question you just answered, Ken. We appreciate it.
Well, good. This was fun. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed being with you all.
Thanks, Ken.
And we'll see you all soon. You got my email, so call anytime. And yes, it can be hard and uncomfortable sometimes. Absolutely. All right. Take care now. Bye-bye.
So we're going to go ahead and drop the link for everybody. Thank you so much, Ken. Thanks, Jason, for moderating this session.
And I forgot to thank Jason for inviting me to participate. So
for
thanks,
inviting.
Jason. All right. Bye-bye now.
Thanks, guys.